on page 446. We're going to pick a subject today because we did last time the beginning. Today we're going to do the first part of the Mishkan that they were building. That's what we're going to learn about. So it's really the next page from the beginning. First page is 444. We're going to go to 446. Okay? So the first thing we're learning is about the building of the Aron, the building of the Ark. So we're learning like this. Let's do it inside first. Vasu Aron atzei shitim. They should build the Aron, the Ark. It was built out of atzei shitim. And
what is shitim?
This is, I thought it was cedar wood, but it's special wood. What is translated in English? But it should say shitim.
Shitim. Kia wood. Kia wood. Kia wood.
I don't know. Okay. Amatayim v'chetzi rokor is supposed to be the length 2.5 amma. And it's got to be v'ama b'chetzi orbo. It's going to be the width 1.5 amma. V'ama b'chetzi komato and 1.5 amma the height. And he says, in other words, it's built out of wood, but tzipita oto zahav, you have to cover it with gold. Mibayit u'mibachutz, from inside or from outside. Tetzapenu, we covered it with gold. Be'asita lo ze sa'af sabim, and you made supposed to make a crown of gold around this ark. And as we know that it wasn't literally that they covered the wood with gold. The way they did it, it was 3 arks really. It was the ark of gold, inside was the ark of wood, and inside was the ark of gold again. So it was gold, wood, gold, right? So there were really 3 boxes. And that's what it meant, that's what the Torah means, that we do it covering gold from both sides. And then it continues, you shall make Badei atzei shitim, right? What is Badei atzei shitim? By the way, we have the picture on this side, so you can watch it over here, right? The Badei atzei shitim is called staves. There's like poles in order to carry it. And also v'tzipita otam zahav, we have to cover that with gold too. Ve'veit hatabadim v'tabaot, he put the poles inside the rings that was made on Salot HaMizbach, on the corners, as you see it over here, the picture, at the corner of the Aron of the Ark, and they would carry the Ark with it. Very interesting point over here says that this poles would not be removed ever from the Ark. Even when the Ark was at the Beit HaMikdash for many, many years, because this law applies not only over here, applies also to the Beit HaMikdash, for many, many years, it would never be removed from the Ark, even though it was used only to carry. That's a very interesting question. Maybe have time to talk about it too. Why wasn't it removed? We don't find about others that it can be removed because they only had to put it when they had to carry it, right? And there was, for example, just in the Midbar, there was one place that stayed for 22 years. Still, they did not remove it. There's many explanations. There's a beautiful thought of the Rebbe about it too. We'll have time, we'll get to it too. But let's continue. Then he says, "Ve'natata el Aaron et ha'edut," we shall put inside the ark the Torah. Edut is the Torah. Asher eten elecha means the tablets. Some say also the Sefer Torah was put inside. Some say the Sefer Torah was outside. But for sure the tablets was inside. As we know, which tablets? Not the tablets that broke. The tablets, the second set of tablets. And again, there's a whole argument, what where the tablet broke, where was that? If it was a special ark built just for those tablets that broke, or there was a little madaf, a little shelf on the side, and that's where those tablets, let's not get into it, there's many different opinions, but those tablets, the second tablets, was put inside the ark. This is what the pasuk says. Let's continue, page 448. Ve'asita kaporet zafto. Kaporet is the cover. A cover, when the cover was supposed to be made out of gold. And also it says the measurement, self-understood, there's got to be the measurements fits in. So I made a measurement of 2.5 by 1.5. On top of this cover, it said, Vasita shnaim kruvim zahav miksha ta'aseotam. On top of this, if you see the picture, they did the kruvim, cheruvim, whatever they call it, but this was those two shapes of people, as you see with the wings, right? And this was on top of this ark, on top of the cover. Okay? One krub was on one side and one krub was on the other side, and this is the way you do it. And the kruvim after should be from gold, the way they stretch the wings. Lemala sochachim bekanfim al kaporet. They cover the kaporet, they cover with their wings, and they have to look facing each other. And what is the meaning of that? We'll get to it soon if Bezrat Hashem we have time. What is the meaning of the whole idea of the kruvim in general? What was the idea that the kruvim have to be facing each other and looking at each other? What did that mean? Then he continues again, V'natata et hakaporet al Aaron. You should put that cover on top of the ark. Melamala. It wasn't an ark like we have over here. That the ark, the opening is from the side. The opening was from on top, right? As you see in the picture, right? It was on top, and you open it up like a regular box. Ve'la'aron titen ta'edut. And again, he repeats, and we'll talk about it soon. Why is he repeating? And again, he's repeating and telling us, in this ark, you should put the edutim is the Torah, right? We just learned that before in verse 16. But he repeats again, you should put this Torah inside. And then he says, God says, this is where I'm going to go. This is where I will speak to you. And God spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu, as we know, that the sound of God came through these two kruvim. That's the law that we're learning about the ark. And we said there's a lot of beautiful ideas over here. But let's focus first at the last point that we spoke about. Why does the Torah repeat twice that we have to put the Torah inside the ark? Right? Very clear. We learned it once in verse 16. We learned it again at 21. So Rashi talks about it. Rashi says, why is he repeating it again? If you look at Rashi, Pasuk 21, and it says, why is he repeating it again? Take a look, so see it in English too. And it says, very interesting. What is explaining? Rashi says already, we were told before that you got to put the Torah, the tablets inside the ark. Why is he doing it? Why is he repeating it again? So Rashi says, you know what he's come to teach us? To teach us, you know, when you put the Torah inside the ark, when the ark is without the cover, that's when you should put the Torah inside the ark. Put the Torah, then you put the cover. This is what Rashi tells us. And this is why we repeat again, to teach us a new law. And the second time to repeat is, Rashi explains, is to tell us that you don't put the cover first, you first put the... What is Rashi here to tell us? What is it telling us? So we know that there is argument about it. The Nachmanides, he quotes that Rashi, and he says no. On the contrary, he says, from this verse seems to me the opposite. Put the cover first, and this is why he says, Natata, put the cover. And then he says, put the tablets inside. That's what it look good in the verse, that's the order. Put the cover, and then he says, and into the ark you should put the tablets. So there's a big argument over here between Rashi and the Nachmanides. Rashi derives from these extra words, why does Torah repeat again, to tell us that the tablets should be put before the cover is being put on. Nachmanides is telling us, no, these verses tell us, you first put the cover. That's what makes the ark to be a holy ark. Only after putting the cover, when the ark gets its real holiness, that's when you're going to go and you're going to put in the tablets. What does it mean? What is the argument between these two? There's a beautiful insight in this, and the Rebbe gave a beautiful explanation. We'll see how much time we have. But the point is, first of all, in general idea, the difference between the way Rashi looks at the story and the way the Nachmanides looks at the story is very, very different. And it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. But first, simple. According to Nachmanides, he looks at it. When God said to build the ark, and that ark should be that holy place, the vessel where the Torah should be in. And as we know, the ark was the most important part of the temple. And why was it so important? Because the Torah itself, the tablets that God gave, is in there. Says the Nachmanides, you know what makes the ark holy? The ark and the cover. This is what God said to do. Rashi says no. The holiness of the ark is the ark. The cover has nothing to do with the ark. You know what the cover is? That on top of the cover you put those kruvim. That's what the cover is. Not for the ark. You cover it. But that's what makes the ark holy. Nachmanides said no. The ark is for the Torah. The cover is for the Torah. And on top of the cover is the kruvim. That's also for the Torah. It's all for the Torah inside. So therefore, if you want to put a Torah inside, you got to have already the ark, the cover, and the kruvim. Rashi says no. When it specifically says, this is why Torah repeats again to tell you, put into the ark. He's not talking at all about the cover. The cover has nothing to do with that. What is the cover have to do? It's a special idea that the kruvim was on top of it when it had a special meaning. And in a certain sense, it could be that, according to Rashi, that the cover is not really a part of the ark. It's not really a part of the ark. It's two separate things. The kruvim, for sure it's not a part of the ark according to Rashi. Nothing to do with the ark. It has to do with the cover. Based on that, we see that what the kruvim resembled, we see a major difference between Rashi and between the Nachmanides. Rashi tells us, what did the kruvim resemble? That we know about. And we'll talk about it more soon. Rashi explains that kruvim resembled a very deep concept. Rashi said that kruvim resembled, there was a shape of a little kid. And Rashi's idea is, as we know about, the kruvim resembled the shape of a Jew, the kid, and the shape of his dad, and that's God. That's what the kruvim resembled. And the kruvim resembled a relationship between Father and Son, us and God. We'll talk about it more soon. The Nachmanides, he explains that the kruvim resembled a different idea, especially says the way the winds were going.
Who's the
Nachmanides? Nachmanides is Rabbeinu Moshe ben Nachman. The Ramban, we call him in short. Lived in Spain for most of his life, and then he moved to Israel because in order to save his life, the king sent him to Israel away. It's a long story, that for now, and he's buried in Israel, right? But he was the great leader of the Jews. It was the same time as the Rambam, a little bit after, and he had that great yeshiva, the great school in Spain. It was interesting because most of the great rabbis in that time that were doing well in Spain they lived in this part of Spain that belonged to the Arab side, because Spain was ruled, a big chunk of it was ruled by the Muslims, and the Jews lived very, very well by them. And there was a part of Spain that was ruled by the Christians. And by the Christians, self understood, the Jews didn't live that well. But this was a real unique idea. The Ramban, he lived at a part of Spain that was ruled by the Christians. And the king at that time had such respect towards him that he trusted him with anything. Very, very strong, close relationship. But unfortunately, the Christians then were not Jewish lovers too much. And because they were not Jewish lovers too much, even though the king himself had great respect and great love to him, and he gave him positions in the kingdom like you wouldn't give to a regular person, but he had a lot of enemies, and they always tried to undermine him. They always tried to find not favor in the eyes of the king about him. There's a lot of stories with the Ramban. It got to a point once that maybe we said a story once that it literally was almost killed, and because they came to talk about the Ramban, a whole story to the king, and the king finally got convinced. But they knew very well if they allow the Ramban talk to the king just to try to plead for his case, he'll for sure convince the king, because he was very good. But the king, in their mind, the king would fall for whatever he would say. So they made a plan, and their plan was that when the verdict comes out of the king, it should not have a chance to come plead by the king. And the plan was that they send, again, all with the permission of the king, they send a letter, an envelope, and sent to him. The king gave him, and he said, I trust you, the only one. I have a message for you to give somewhere in that place. And as the Ramban is loyal to his king, he went to do that message. But in that envelope was a paper, and that paper it said, whoever gives over that envelope to you, immediately put him to the oven. And that was the plan. That's the way they're going to get rid of him, because their plan was, if the king tells them before, there's no chance. It'll change the king's mind. And there's a long story about it that he had no idea, and he went. And while he was traveling there, he was stopped by another Jew that had a baby and had to do a brit. And he asked him if he's a moil, and he said yes. He said, would you please wait, because there's nobody around here that can do it for my son. He says, yes, but I can't wait because I have a message from the king, and I can't play around with that. So he said, listen, there's the king of God, right? And the mitzvah to circumcise my son. If you don't stay with me, who's going to circumcise? And to make a long story short, he decided to stay. He said, okay, you know what? Hashem will for sure going to watch over me, because I'm doing the mitzvah of Hashem. I'm going to do the mitzvah of Hashem. And it's going to work. Apparently, this guy, Badav, was waiting for him, because he already got the message that, I think that was a story, I don't remember the details, that the one that comes to you with a message from the king, just don't ask him questions, go put him right into the oven. But apparently he stayed a few days. They, in the meantime, sent someone else to find out what happened. So there was somebody else that came there, also the messenger of the king. What happened? You know, what happened with the Ramban if they burned them? So when the second guy came, the second guy really not came before the Ramban, because the Ramban got stuck in his house to do the Brit. So the second guy came and he says, you know, he has a message from the king. What happened with? Oh, you have a message for the king? They threw him right into the fire without even asking questions. Finally, a few days later, the Ramban came. The Ramban came, says, okay, I have a message from the king. So don't worry, it's all taken care of. We already got the message from the king. So what are you talking about? He says, yeah, we got originally a message that whoever comes a message from the king, we should put him right to the fire. So we already had somebody that came and put him right to the fire. So I guess you only come to find out if it was done. It was done. You can go back to the king and say it was done. It was very smart. He realized right away what happened over here, right? He realized right away that really Hashem saved him by doing the bridge, and this is why he came later. So whatever, he went back to the king. So he came to the king, and by the way, he didn't follow my message. And they told the king those story. And then the king said, wow, now you know God is really watching over you. And he says, but how'd you do this to me? Because they gave us stories. And he, right away, as soon as he was able to explain himself, the king saw right away that it's not, and he let him free, self-understood, but it got worse and worse. And always there were debates, and he would win the debates against them. It was the Christian church.